October 28th, Feast of St. Simon and Jude, Apostles.
A reading from the letter of St. Paul to the Ephesians. Brothers and sisters, you are no longer strangers and sojourners, but you are fellow citizens with the holy ones and members of the household of God, built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets, with Christ Jesus himself as the capstone. Through him the whole structure is held together and grows into a temple sacred in the Lord. In him you also are being built together into a dwelling place of God in the Spirit. The word of the Lord.
Responsorial Psalm. The response is, "Their message goes out through all the earth." The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament proclaims his handiwork. Day pours out the word to day, and night to night imparts knowledge. Their message goes out through all the earth. Not a word nor a discourse whose voice is not heard. Through all the earth their voice resounds, and to the ends of the world their message. Their message goes out through all the earth.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus went up to the mountain to pray, and he spent the night in prayer to God. When day came, he called his disciples to himself, and from them he chose 12, whom he also named apostles: Simon, whom he named Peter, and his brother Andrew, James, John, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James the son of Alphaeus, Simon, who was called a zealot, and Judas the son of James, and Judas Iscariot, who became a traitor. The Gospel of the Lord.
October 28th, the Feast of St. Simon and Jude. The first reading comes from Ephesians 2:19-22. In this small passage, we hear that we're no longer strangers and sojourners. The author of this letter is writing to a Gentile Christian community, and previously they had not been part of the chosen people. Now they're part of the very temple of God. It's a temple that's no longer built with stone, but with people. And Christ himself is the capstone, that piece of stone, spiritual stone that's holding the building together. And it's built on the foundation of the apostles and the prophets. This passage is chosen because we're dealing with two apostles. Simon, who's called the Zealot. Remember, Zealots were a political party that opposed the power of Rome in Palestine. And Jude, also called Judas Thaddeus. He is the good Saint Jude, the patron saint of hopeless causes. And the reason he's the patron saint of hopeless causes is that in many European languages, there's no distinction between the name Jude and Judas. Therefore, very few people would pray to Saint Judas. It just didn't sound right. And the reasoning was, since people weren't praying to him, he had a lot of time on his hands. So if people needed his intercession, he was available. In Italy, Saint Rita of Cascia is the patron saint of hopeless causes. In the States, it's Saint Jude. The Gospel is from Luke 6:12-6. Jesus prays on the mountain, which is typical of the Gospel of Luke. He's constantly praying. In Mark and Matthew, he prays 2 and 3 times. In Luke, he prays 11. Jesus prays because he wants to discern the will of the Father. He wants to find the strength to fulfill that will. He is trying to give us an example of obedience to God's will. The first Adam was disobedient, brought disobedience and death into the world. The second Adam, Jesus, brings obedience. After he prays, he calls the 12. And we hear the list of the 12: Peter, Andrew, James, John, etc. And in this list, we hear about Simon the Zealot and Judas the son of James, who is the saint that we call Jude. And may God bless us.